welcome to World News Europe. I'm Fionnuala Sweeney in London. A massacre of 45 ethnic Albanians in Kosovo province is prompting defiant moves from the Belgrade government. Yugoslavia is ordering the American head of the Kosovo Observer mission to leave the country within 48 hours. The move comes after William Walker blamed Yugoslav forces for the killings on Friday in the village of Račić. Authorities say Walker overstepped his mandate. The chief prosecutor of the War Crimes Tribunal at The Hague had hoped to investigate the site. Louise Arbour was turned back by Yugoslav border guards on Monday. Russia, a traditional Serb ally, is sending a deputy foreign minister to Belgrade for consultations. The government is expressing concern over the decision to expel Walker and Friday's killings. So also are the US and Britain.
Thank you very much.
Well, in the wake of the massacre, Albania's parliament is calling on all Albanians to unite in their support of their ethnic kin in Kosovo province. Joe DioGuardi is a former US congressman and president of an international group working for independence for Kosovars, and he now joins us for some perspective on this conflict. First of all, let me ask you about your reaction to the Yugoslav authorities' decision to expel William Walker this evening.
Well, it's nice to be here in London, by the way, and thank you for this opportunity. It's outrageous, and this is typical of Mr. Milosevic. He does not care about international law. Right from the beginning, as president of the Albanian American Civic League, I've been saying that our foreign policy in the United States and the foreign policies here in Europe have been a death sentence for the Albanian people. They are subject to a brutal dictator who started this back in 1989 when he walked into Kosovo and forcibly occupied it. And what you see today, these massacres, is proof positive that the real terrorists are the Serbian police and Mr. Milosevic.
What do you think is Mr. Milosevic's end game here by expelling William Walker, by not allowing UN officials to investigate the scene of the massacres over the weekend? What do you think? Is he trying to up the ante with the international community?
He's a very complex person, a very devious person. He's much like Hitler in the way he thinks, and he's exploiting the United States. He's exploited Mr. Holbrooke, and I'll bet that part of his policy here is to try to escalate it to a point where the KLA will try to overact, or is made to overact, to protect their citizens so that he can keep calling them terrorists. There's kind of a parity, and I don't understand why, being created between the KLA and they're defending their homeland, defending their families and villages, and this Serbian army, which has been getting away with massacres. And this has got to stop. In
your position, do you support either Ibrahim Rugova, who's been trying to achieve an accommodation by sort of parliamentary political means, or the KLA?
Well, there's no question that the people of Kosovo support the KLA, and that's what counts. There was a referendum for independence back in 1991. The people of Kosovo have spoken. They want independence. They don't want to live under the boot of a dictator who has no respect for them. And as one of your own MPs said yesterday, I heard him on an interview, Patty Ashton, that Mr. Milosevic has certainly now lost the moral authority to lead in Kosovo.
Are you disappointed by your own government's reaction to events in the former Yugoslavia?
I have said for months, and certainly in the last year, that our State Department has blood on its hands for allowing Mr. Milosevic to duplicate what he did in Bosnia. We waited 3 years too late for the airstrikes, which we should be doing now, and 300,000 people perished. How many Albanians have to die like this, civilians, before we take action against Mr. Milosevic?
Well, the UN met had held emergency consultations today, and they broke up. They criticised the decision to expel William Walker and condemned what had taken place over at the weekend. Do you have any faith in the United Nations' ability to monitor at least the situation in Kosovo or bring about some resolution?
The time for talking is over. Milosevic does not understand talk. He will lie his way through, as he did in Bosnia. All those acts that we saw against civilians, he blamed on the Bosnians, the so-called Muslims. He's doing the same now in Kosovo. He will not change his modus operandi. His goal is to have complete domination in this area. Even recently, those 8 young men in the bar in Peja that were killed, those were not Serbs. They were Montenegrins. And we believe they were killed by the Serbs in order to get the sympathy of the Montenegrins to jump into this war against the Albanians.
Now, you're saying the time for talking is over. You're talking about military strikes?
Absolutely.
What happens after the military strikes? What kind of political accommodation can be reached between Slobodan Milosevic and the ethnic Albanians?
Don't you think the international community has the obligation to protect innocent civilians? A runaway outlaw government is now killing them wantonly. We saw this in World War II with the Nazi regime. The first thing we have to do is to protect those innocent civilians. Airstrikes. We did it in Bosnia. We waited 3 years too late. We lost 300,000 people. Why don't we start with the airstrikes and show Mr. Milosevic that we have resolve? When he sees that resolve, he will back off, and then we'll take the next step.
DioGuardi, there we have to leave it, but thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.